National Electrical Code Section 210.11c4 stipulates specific requirements for receptacle outlets installed within cabinets or compartments. This code section necessitates that these receptacle outlets be supplied by a branch circuit dedicated solely to those specific receptacle outlets. This means that in a kitchen remodel scenario where you are installing under cabinet low voltage lighting powered by a transformer and a range hood or a microwave oven combination, each of these appliances must have its own dedicated circuit. Small appliance circuits required by NEC 210.11 corner for countertop receptacles and are not allowed to supply other outlets. The reasoning behind this requirement is multifaceted. Firstly, it prevents overloading of circuits. When multiple appliances share a single circuit, there is a higher risk of exceeding the circuit's capacity, leading to trip breakers or blown fuses. Dedicated circuits ensure that each appliance has sufficient power without affecting the performance of other appliances. Secondly, it minimizes electrical interference. Certain appliances, especially those with motors or heating elements, can generate electrical noise that can interfere with the operation of other devices on the same circuit. Dedicated circuits help isolate these appliances, reducing the likelihood of interference. Thirdly, it enhances safety. Overloaded circuits can overheat, increasing the risk of electrical fires. Dedicated circuits reduce the likelihood of overloading, thereby improving the overall safety of the electrical system. In the context of under-cabinet lighting, a low-voltage transformer is typically used to step down the voltage from the standard 120 volts to a lower voltage, such as 12 volts or 24 volts, for the lighting fixtures. This transformer requires a 120-volt power source, which is typically provided by a receptacle outlet installed inside the cabinet. According to NEC 210.11c4, this receptacle outlet must be supplied by a dedicated branch circuit. Similarly, a range hood or microwave oven combination typically requires a dedicated circuit due to its higher power consumption. These appliances often have powerful motors and heating elements that can draw a significant amount of current. Connecting them to a shared circuit could easily overload the circuit, causing it to trip or overheat. By providing each appliance with its own dedicated circuit, you ensure that they have sufficient power and that the circuit is not overloaded. When planning a kitchen remodel, it is crucial to consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that the electrical system complies with all applicable codes and regulations. The electrician can assess the electrical load requirements of each appliance and determine the appropriate size and type of circuit to install. They can also ensure that the wiring is properly installed and that all connections are secure. To further elaborate on the practical implications of NEC 210.11c4, consider a scenario where you have installed under cabinet lighting and a range hood or microwave oven combination, but you have not provided each appliance with its own dedicated circuit. In this case, you might find that the circuit breaker trips frequently, especially when both appliances are in use simultaneously. This can be frustrating and inconvenient, and it can also be a sign that the electrical system is overloaded. In addition to the risk of overloading, sharing a circuit between these appliances can also lead to voltage drops. Voltage drops occur when the voltage of the appliance decreases due to the resistance of the wiring. This can cause the appliances to operate less efficiently, and it can even damage them over time. Dedicated circuits help minimize voltage drops by ensuring that each appliance has its own dedicated power source. From a practical standpoint, the installation of these dedicated circuits involves several steps. Firstly, determine the appropriate amperage for each circuit. This will depend on the power consumption of the appliances being served. The National Electrical Code provides guidelines for determining the appropriate amperage for various types of appliances. Secondly, select the appropriate wire gauge for each circuit. The wire gauge must be large enough to carry the amperage without overheating. Again, the National Electrical Code provides guidelines for selecting the appropriate wire gauge. Thirdly, install a dedicated circuit breaker in the electrical panel for each circuit. The circuit breaker should be sized appropriately for the amperage of the circuit. Fourthly, run the wiring from the electrical panel to the receptacle outlets in the cabinets. The wiring should be installed in accordance with all applicable codes and regulations. Fifthly, connect the receptacle outlets to the wiring. The receptacle outlets should be installed securely and properly grounded. Finally, test the circuits to ensure that they are working properly. This can be done using a multimeter or other electrical testing equipment. It is important to note that electrical work can be dangerous, and it should only be performed by qualified individuals. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is best to hire a licensed electrician to perform the work for you. Furthermore, beyond the safety and performance considerations, adhering to NEC 210.11c4 also ensures compliance with local building codes and regulations. Failure to comply with these codes can result in fines or other penalties. In some cases, it may even be necessary to redo the electrical work to bring it up to code. By following the requirements of NEC 210.11c4, you can avoid these potential problems and ensure that your kitchen remodel is safe, efficient, and compliant. In summary, NEC 210.11c4 is a critical code requirement that must be followed when installing receptacle outlets within cabinets or compartments. This code section mandates that these receptacle outlets be supplied by a branch circuit dedicated solely to those specific receptacle outlets. This requirement is in place to prevent overloading of circuits, minimize electrical interference, enhance safety, and ensure compliance with local building codes. When planning a kitchen remodel, it is essential to consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that the electrical system complies with all applicable codes and regulations. Remember that small appliance circuits are separate. One must provide dedicated circuits for under-cabinet lighting and range hoods. Now let's delve into some additional considerations for implementing NEC section 210.11 C4 effectively, especially in the context of a kitchen remodel. First, consider the placement of the receptacles within the cabinets. While the code mandates a dedicated circuit, it doesn't explicitly dictate the exact location of the receptacle. Ideally, position the receptacle in a readily accessible location within the cabinet, but also consider aesthetics and potential interference with storage space. For under-cabinet lighting transformers, often a high, out-of-the-way location is best, to keep the transformer ventilated and away from items stored in the cabinet. For range hoods, the receptacle should be positioned to allow easy access for the hood's power cord, while minimizing its visibility. Secondly, think about future needs. While you might be installing specific appliances during the remodel, consider the possibility of adding other electrical devices within the cabinets in the future. It might be wise to install a multi-outlet receptacle or even a small power strip connected to the dedicated circuit, allowing for greater flexibility down the line. Make sure any such addition is still within the amperage limits of the circuit. Thirdly, ensure proper labeling. Clearly label the circuit breaker in the electrical panel that corresponds to the dedicated circuit for the in-cabinet receptacle. This will make it easier to identify and troubleshoot the circuit in the future. A simple label such as under-cabinet lighting or range hood can save time and effort when dealing with electrical issues. Fourthly, grounding is crucial. Ensure that the receptacle is properly grounded to protect against electrical shock. This is typically achieved by connecting the grounding wire from the circuit to the grounding terminal on the receptacle. If you are unsure how to properly ground a receptacle, consult with a qualified electrician. Fifthly, consider arc fault circuit interrupters, or SICE. Depending on your local electrical codes, you may be required to install a SICE on the dedicated circuits for the in-cabinet receptacles. SICE are designed to detect arc faults, which are dangerous electrical conditions that can lead to fires. If an arc fault is detected, the SICE will trip the circuit breaker, cutting off the power to the circuit. Sixth, surge protection is also a key consideration. Electronic components in your range hood or the transformer in your lighting setup can be sensitive to voltage spikes. Consider installing a surge protector at the receptacle or even a whole house surge protector to protect against damage from power surges. Seventh, wire management within the cabinet is also a very important step for professional looking and safe work. After the wiring is completed, make sure that any wires or cords are neatly organized and secured within the cabinet. This will prevent them from getting tangled or damaged, and it will also improve the overall appearance of the installation. Use cable ties or other fasteners to keep the wires in place. 8th, inspection is extremely important to ensure your electrical wiring is safely installed and to code. Once the electrical work is complete, have it inspected by a qualified electrical inspector. The inspector will verify that the work was performed in accordance with all applicable codes and regulations. This will help ensure that your kitchen remodel is safe and compliant. Lastly, documentation is useful for future reference. Keep a record of all electrical work performed during the kitchen remodel, including the location of the dedicated circuits, the wire gauge used, and the amperage of the circuit breakers. This documentation will be helpful for future maintenance and repairs. When working with electricity, always prioritize safety. Turn off the power to the circuit before working on any electrical components. Use insulated tools and wear appropriate safety gear. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, hire a licensed electrician to perform the work for you.